Welcome back to Water Park Rangers. Let's play Kingdom Hearts. In the last episode, not much happened. Sorry for that, by the way. You know, there's bound to be a dull episode once in a while. But fortunately, Atlantica really is the last part of the game that I honestly think is just... After that, after Atlantica, this really was the point where afterwards it would get really awesome. We're finally here, at the boss of Atlantica, Ursula. Now, this fight is actually quite simple. Triton said that you had to attack the Cauldron with magic in order to stop Ursula. Now, you don't actually have to use any particular kind depending on the color. That's what I used to think, but really you just have to use any kind of magic and just hit the Cauldron a heck of a lot of times. It's best to do this with fire because it hits in so many bursts, and it also consumes the least amount of MP, so just whip fire to a hotkey, target the Cauldron, go after it, and then after you've done that little trick, like I showed you, it'll stun Ursula. After the giant Cauldron burst. You're gonna see it again, so don't worry. Also, generally, your magic will likely run out because of how much magic it takes to activate this stun time. So, like I said, you want to have plenty of ethers handy. If you don't have any ethers, don't worry. Usually, whenever you're fighting enemies, if you hit them a lot, you're gonna get back MP from them anyway. It's generally gonna regenerate very slowly. So if you ever run out of MP, just go after the two eels, whose names are Flotsam and Jetsam, and hit them around a little bit, and they'll gradually replenish your MP that way. This boss really isn't challenging at all. The one thing you do want to look out for is that both the eels and Ursula herself can be pretty persistent attackers. Oh darn, she recovered. Even if she's not spinning around, it doesn't seem like there's any way you can damage her unless she's fully stunned by the Cauldron. So let's conjure up one last burst from that pot, shall we? If she would just get away. I guess that's rule of thumb number one. While you're shooting at the Cauldron, you want to make sure that you're out of range of Ursula and her cronies. If you do want to get a little bit more breathing air, and don't want the eels constantly after you, which can be a threat, you can perform a few short combos on them to knock them out, but you can't kill them permanently. There we go. I guess, actually, the burst was enough to defeat Ursula even. We didn't even have to go after her and hit her that time. Oh, and the eels shriveled up. Your pets are toast, Ursula. Okay, we did not need to see you from that angle. That was not flattering at all. Yeah, it also annoys me when Donald does that. Oh boy. And we learned what I would go ahead and say is undoubtedly the crappiest ability in the game, Mermaid Kick. Unlike many of the other abilities that need, like, AP, shared abilities, like the high jump that we equipped earlier, don't take up any AP. They're just something you should equip on your entire party. What the Mermaid Kick does is it's supposed to make you move a lot faster, and get around the area much more quickly. Now, this would have been useful perhaps to have in Atlantica earlier, if not for the fact that the Mermaid Kick has really awful controls, so, like, it controls really awkwardly. Also, I forget exactly what button it is to rise and descend in the water, square and circle. I think it's circle to descend. I forget. It's kind of crazy to remember. But the problem is whichever one you use for circle, which is rise or descend, is also the same one for Mermaid Kick. So it's really awkward how, like, you'll rise, and yet when you try and move down, you're going to use a Mermaid Kick. So you can't just descend straightaways anymore. You're going to shoot ahead because the controls just become that much more awful. So the Mermaid Kick is generally actually a really horrible ability, and I would not recommend equipping it. The reason we have it on is because the one thing it is useful for is getting through those troublesome currents that would push us back and that we needed a dolphin to get through earlier. It's in the calm depths. Ironically, you know, of course, the calm depths is where the water happens to be flowing most quickly. Now, you see that place right there? We couldn't swim there before because of the dolphin. Now, here's my advice to you. Get through there using the Mermaid Kick. But before you go completely into the shadow, de-equip the Mermaid Kick. Like so. It should be somewhere up ahead and to the right. As soon as we get through, I'm going to take off the Mermaid Kick. Right now, I'm using the Mermaid Kick to hold myself in the current. And now, before we get consumed by the shadow, we're going to take it off because right in there is the final, is the last battle in Atlantica. It's very difficult. It's the hardest fight in the game thus far. And I think it might be one of the hardest non-optional fights in the game. Now that we've taken off the Mermaid Kick, we're going to have a lot better mobility for this battle. Mobility is much preferred over speed for it, trust me, because the target that you're supposed to hit is kind of troublesome to aim for if you have the Mermaid Kick on, because you're going to be blasting yourself in one direction, like, really quickly. unless you take off the mermaid kick, which is what we've done. And now, as you can see, Ursula has transformed into a gigantic Ursula, just like what happened in The Little Mermaid, the first one. And actually, that same quote about the sea and the spoils or whatever, that same quote was also used in the movie. Also, her death was pretty violent. But then again, you know, so are most Disney villain deaths. They're usually a little bit disconcerting. Especially Clayton. If you've never seen Clayton's, that one always was pretty crazy to me. Anyway, let's get behind Ursula's head, because Ursula has a number of attacks. Most of them involve shooting stuff out of her mouth, which of course generally travels right in front of her mouth, so you don't want to be in front of her mouth. You want to get behind her and attack, like, the back of her head, whack her in the back of the head. That's honestly the best place for you to be. It's a pretty easy target to aim for, so I should basically just describe the attacks you're going to be dealing. She can shoot bubbles out from the front that are slightly homing. They're pretty lame and really easy to dodge, so I wouldn't worry about any of those bubbles. She has this thing where she tries to draw you in from the front, like as if she was trying to eat you or something. That does a lot of damage, and it's a vacuum attack that usually you can only escape if you're at the pinnacle of the mermaid kick abilities. So you just want to be out of the way of her mouth, because if that thing goes off, chances are you're not going to be able to avoid it, and you're just going to take a lot of unnecessary damage. A few other attacks is that you might notice there are random lasers appearing. These are just like a permanent effect of the fight. The more you hurt Ursula, like when she starts getting closer to the green, they're going to start appearing in much higher frequency. She's also going to have the ability to call up large swarms of these lasers. Unfortunately, all these lasers do quite a lot of damage, and they're not so easy to dodge. Some people recommend equipping Arrow for this fight. I've heard different things about Arrow. I've heard that it might actually make her stronger, like it'll make the lasers do more damage to you. I've heard that Arrow defends you to the point where even the stronger lasers are not going to be strong enough to hurt you sufficiently. So use Arrow at your own risk. I say you're probably pretty well off using it, but I'm not using it just for the fact that I want to save extra MP and just save it for pure. Final thing that's worthy of note is Ursula has the most HP of anything so far. I'm pretty sure that's a fact. And this is pretty darn annoying, especially because some people actually go as far as to finish the next world first and then go to Atlantica, because by then you'll have leveled up strong to a sufficient point where she's not so tough anymore. But as you saw, I didn't really run into any troubles. I think I might have lost 1 or 2 times off screen. She's kind of a difficult boss. But like I said, the main idea is if you stay out of the way of her face for the duration of the fight, you're going to have much less of a problem. For the record, there's a battle much later on. There are a couple battles that are similar to this one. And they are made a little bit more difficult, actually. But I shouldn't go into talking about them because they contain spoilers. Anyhow, that was Ursula. She does have one more attack that I forgot to mention. But I will save it and just read the dialogue that I know is coming up in this next scene. Because I didn't bother to give it voice acting. Daddy, I'm so sorry. Please don't be angry with her.
It's my fault. You followed Ursula because I wouldn't let you follow your heart. And when you found that crystal, I lost my temper and destroyed it.
Oh yeah, the crystal. Why did you destroy it?
The crystal held the power to reveal the keyhole. The keyhole was dangerous. I had to keep you away from it at any cost.
Daddy.
Keybearer, I have one more request. Seal the keyhole. My trident also holds the power to reveal the keyhole.
Of course, that's what we had in mind from the start. Where's the keyhole, Daddy?
You should know better than anyone. It's in your grotto.
Really? Sora, let's go! Attained the power of thunder! Randomly! No reason for us to get thunder from this conversation, but, okay. Let's take it and leave. Usually, they give you thunder, usually they'll give you some kind of upgrade, like, right when you've defeated the boss. That's kind of different. I'm putting the mermaid kick back on just so we can get to the destination a little bit more quickly. Ugh! And yet its controls are so miserable that I can't get through a simple doorway. There we go. Yeah, it's definitely, the down button. It's definitely the down button. That's also the mermaid kick. So let's just go down. No, Sora, not straightaways. Downways, Sora, you're doing it wrong. Seriously, these controls become so much more bad once you get the mermaid kick. Ugh, if you thought they were bad before, like, that's a whole new level of awful. Okay, there we go, we're sufficiently down. And now we're out. Down and out. That's the best you can possibly be in Atlantica, for the record. And now let's go ahead and get that last keyhole. Actually, we were so close to getting it that one time. You know, if Trident hadn't just, like, been a dick to us, we could have finished this, like, a few episodes ago. We would have quickly been able to just immediately get the keyhole, seal it, and the world would have been safe. I don't see what the big deal would have been. I love these animations, by the way. I'm not sure if I mentioned them. Or the fact that I really think they're awesome. As I was going to say, oh, isn't that cool? It just makes that tablet appear out of, like, thin air, made out of pure bubble powers. One thing that I forgot to mention was Ursula's other attack, which is, honestly, it's just a shoot-the-whoop, straight-up laser that just goes BWHAM right out of her mouth. I don't know how strong it is because I haven't gotten hit by it. It's one of those things that's like a pretentious, typical Square Enix attack that looks so strong, and it's probably really strong, but because it has this huge wind-up and everything, you'll dodge it before you ever get hit by it. There are a lot of attacks like that in Square Enix games, where you can actually dodge attacks and you don't inevitably have to be hit by them because you're standing still in a turn-based one. This is not one of those games, so when you see a big fancy attack, chances are you'll usually have a pretty good chance of dodging it. Not always, though. Keep that in mind. I will, of course, let you know which ones are hard to dodge and which ones aren't. That was Atlantica, folks. It's finally over. Things get way better next episode.